Have you ever been somewhere, maybe a massive stadium, a small birthday party, even a graduation, and realized that the one thing holding it all together was the sound?
Absolutely.
Music isn't just, background noise. It's the absolute core. It's the heartbeat of every important human celebration.
And if the music stops, the whole thing feels flat, incomplete.
Totally.
That's because music is one of the main ways we express feelings that, well, the words can't really capture. So for our deep dive today, we're on a mission to trace that relationship.
We're looking at the history of sound, the evolution of instruments, and the huge social role music plays.
Yeah, whether you're at a family party or watching a global event, we're exploring how the beat really defines you and your community.
Okay, so let's unpack this by starting at the literal beginning. I mean, tens of thousands of years ago.
Right.
The story of music didn't start with orchestras. It started with the simplest tools our ancestors could find in nature,
We're talking about things like hollow bones, wooden sticks, stones.
things they'd use to create basic rhythmic sounds, maybe after a successful hunt or during a big tribal gathering.
And that's the foundation, isn't it? Rhythm. But what's really fascinating is how quickly that basic tool use turned into actual craftsmanship.
How so?
Well, early civilizations figured out that if you stretch animal skin tight over wooden frame, you get a drum. It amplifies the sound.
And if you carve holes into a hollow bone or a piece of cane you find by a river,
You get a flute.
and then came the discovery that just completely changed the game. Strings.
Hmm.
Somebody, somewhere, realized that vibrating a taut string could produce these clear, definite tones.
And that leap moving from just rhythm and noise into structured melody, that was a massive step forward for every civilization that came after.
It really was. And as societies got more organized, their music became more functional. It moved way beyond just, entertainment.
We see this shift so clearly in the ancient empires. In Egypt, for example, they didn't just play harps and flutes for fun.
No, they were essential for religious festivals along the Nile. They used them to document history and connect people to their beliefs.
Wait, I remember learning something about this. The ancient Greeks saw music as a fundamental a gift from the gods, really, and a cornerstone of education.
Yes, but here's where it gets really interesting, connecting the arts and the sciences. The Greeks, specifically thinkers like Pythagoras, developed mathematical systems to understand musical scales.
They realized that certain musical intervals corresponded to these perfect, simple ratios, like 2 to 1 for an octave.
Exactly. They believed these mathematically harmonious sounds were related to the harmony of the cosmos.
The whole universe operating on the same musical math. It wasn't just artistic taste for them, it was a fundamental law of physics, of architecture.
That concept of harmony was crucial.
Now, contrast that very intellectual focus with how music functioned in, say, Rome.
Right. They used sound for power and spectacle.
They absolutely did. Music was performed at these massive public ceremonies, big sporting events inside their grand stadiums.
So they needed instruments that were loud.
Exactly. Trumpets and percussion that could project over huge crowds just to underscore the spectacle and show the power of the empire. It was loud, it was public, and it was all about projecting authority.
And then, across the world, in ancient China, the function was different again. They weren't focused on military power or philosophical ratios, but on political stability.
That's a great way to put it. In China, music often made with these incredibly tuned sets of bells and stone chimes was used to ensure harmony in the royal court.
The idea being, if the music was balanced and orderly,
Then it was thought to reflect and even reinforce the order and stability of the entire state. Music, in every one of these ancient civilizations, was social engineering long before it was just a concert.
so if we fast forward through history a bit, music starts to split. It's based on who's playing it and I guess why they're playing it.
Mm-hmm. And you end up with two really different but equally important paths. You have the spontaneous music of the community.
And the carefully structured sound of a composer.
This is that critical split between folk music and classical music. Folk music is all about the traditions, the legends, the daily lives of ordinary people, often in rural settings.
And its main characteristic is that it was passed down by word of mouth, right? Not written down with notes on a page.
Exactly. It's an oral tradition.
Yeah.
And because it wasn't formally written, it had to be flexible. The themes were always relatable stories about hard work, local myths, family life.
And the instruments were simple, portable things. Fiddles, banjos, small accordions. Perfect for a community gathering.
And its function was often deeply practical. A lot of folk songs, especially work songs, were designed to help groups of workers synchronize their tasks.
Like hauling ropes on a ship or harvesting crops in a field.
Right. The rhythm made sure everyone was pulling or lifting at the exact same time. It saved energy and made the work more efficient.
So the song's job was literally to make the work happen. But if we swing completely to the other side, we find classical music.
Which is all about formal structure and rigid composition. Classical music is defined by its complexity, its massive scale, and the need for precision.
We're talking about the orchestra, this huge group of performers with dozens of musicians creating this enormous layered sound.
A sound that comes from the collaboration of four main instrument families. You have the strings, violins, cellos. They create the core texture.
Then the woodwinds, flutes, clarinets, and the brass trumpets, trombones, they provide the power.
And finally, percussion, keeping the rhythm and adding all those dramatic effects.
And unlike folk music, the composers spent weeks, sometimes years, writing down every single note precisely.
And that notation that was revolutionary. It meant these incredibly complex pieces could be performed exactly as the composer intended hundreds of years later.
This style really took off in Europe, 18th and 19th centuries? And it became the music of ceremony and state power.
It did. These grand pieces were often commissioned to celebrate a royal wedding or a major military victory. It was a massive financial investment.
And that legacy of structure is why students still study these works. Not just for fun, but to learn about arrangement, harmony, melody.
So you have these two paths: folk music, the flexible, shared, verbal history of the people, and classical music, the documented, structured history of complex composition.
Okay, now let's connect that deep history to our modern lives. Because whether it's complex or simple, music's main job today seems to be marking our biggest milestones. Personal, religious, national.
That's its enduring power. Let's start with religion. Music creates a sacred space, an atmosphere for spiritual reflection.
Think about the massive pipe organs in cathedrals. The sound isn't just loud, you feel it.
It resonates physically in your chest. It creates an atmosphere that feels truly immense and, well, reverent.
And that feeling of connection is universal. Even with different instruments, you have choirs singing these powerful hymns in Western traditions.
And you have rhythmic drumming and chanting in spiritual practices all around the globe. The function underneath is identical. Connection.
It helps people feel unified with their faith and with their community.
And the lyrics often teach important lessons or tell sacred stories, making them super memorable because they're attached to a melody.
And that communal feeling, it jumps right over to our national identity. It's hard to even picture a national holiday parade without music setting the whole mood.
Oh, absolutely. National celebrations are defined by certain songs. The spectacle of a brass band playing loud marches during a parade is designed to build this strong sense of pride and collective identity.
The rhythm of a march is just invigorating. It establishes a feeling of celebration and order.
And it's a form of collective memory. These loud public performances make sure important historical events are remembered generation after generation.
Right. When you hear that specific song, the memory of the event comes flooding back.
And speaking of memory, let's scale it all the way down to the most personal celebration, the birthday party.
Even here, music plays this central, almost obligatory role.
It does. Here's a fun fact. The most famous song in the world is probably sung right before the cake comes out.
Everyone stops what they're doing, focuses on one person, and sings that one simple melody.
And that simple moment is a perfect example of music being an emotional anchor. The tune is so universal, everyone can join in. It makes the person being honored feel special and makes the moment stick.
And when that energy is high, the body just naturally wants to move. I mean, dance and music have been inseparable forever.
Right. And even as the instruments and styles have changed, that link between rhythm and movement is still essential.
We've gone from, structured courtly dances with violin scores to the electronic music that defines modern parties.
Fast rhythms, especially with powerful, heavy bass lines, just naturally encourage high-energy collective movement.
Modern dance music relies heavily on repetitive beats and electronic instruments. And that thumping rhythm is, scientifically proven to keep crowds moving.
It defines huge group gatherings like school proms, weddings. Music is the unifying heartbeat for any celebration that needs physical expression.
And maybe the most incredible modern expression of that is the music festival.
Monumental outdoor events where tens of thousands of people gather, sometimes for days. It's about food, crafts, but above all, the sound.
The atmosphere is like a temporary community. and being part of that massive crowd, shoulder to shoulder, singing the same song at the top of your lungs.
That shared experience creates this powerful sense of peace and unity.
And that level of access is only possible because of technology's massive impact. Think about how hard it used to be. You either needed a live musician.
Or a physical record, or a tape, or a radio signal, there was friction.
Today, that friction is almost zero. We went from needing physical objects to having digital files and streaming services with instant access to millions of songs.
You can create a personalized playlist for any celebration in just seconds.
And the creation process is just as open. Computers let musicians record and produce high-quality, complex songs from a bedroom studio.
Yeah, you don't need a massive professional recording space anymore.
So now a lot of celebrations just use digital playlists and small portable speakers instead of a full live band.
But here's the critical thing to remember. While the delivery method has completely changed, it's cheaper, faster, more accessible, the feelings it creates,
The connection, the joy, the energy.
those remain exactly the same.
Which brings us to our final component, education. If streaming gives us instant access to everything, why do we still bother learning music in school?
That's a great question. It's because learning music is so much more than just learning to perform.
Practicing an instrument or singing helps develop discipline, patience, and it improves your ability to focus on complex tasks.
It's pattern recognition in action, and it teaches vital teamwork. Think about a school band, an orchestra, a choir,
Everyone has to work together.
as a synchronized team to achieve a single beautiful goal. It also introduces you to the history and culture of different people and countries.
So, if we pull all of this together, from the hollow bone to the streaming service, what does this history tell us?
Well, it tells us that music is fundamental to being human. It has this unique power to change our mood instantly, make us excited or reflective.
And it acts as a bridge. It allows different people to share one experience, even if they don't speak the same language.
It's the mechanism we use to express our culture, document our history, and define our personal identity. It's at every single milestone we care about.
Music will always be the enduring heartbeat of every great celebration we hold as humans.
Think about this. How is it that just the first three notes of a holiday carol or stadium anthem can make an entire crowd feel the exact same emotion instantly?
That right there, that is the true, unparalleled power of music. It holds our memories, our history, and our future celebrations all in a single beat. Good luck with your studies.